The night my husband threw me out was the kind of night that felt like the universe itself was trying to wash me away. Rain hammered the pavement, thunder shook the sky, and the wind cut through my clothes as if it wanted to remind me how alone I now was. I stood on the porch, my fingers numb around the handle of my single suitcase. The same suitcase I once used for vacations with the man who now looked at me as if I were a stranger invading his home. His voice echoed in my ears, cold and final. "Get out and don't come back." No explanation, no hesitation, no guilt. The door slammed, and the lock clicked like a gun being cocked, sharp, metallic, irreversible. For a moment, I simply stood there, not crying, not screaming, just frozen. As if my mind couldn't keep up with the speed at which my life had just been ripped apart. I stepped off the porch and into the rain, my shoes soaked instantly. My clothes clung to me like a second skin, but I kept walking because the alternative was standing in the darkness, wondering where everything went wrong. I walked past familiar houses, windows glowing with warmth, families gathering for dinner, laughter drifting out like soft music. Each one was a reminder of what I had lost, or maybe what I never truly had. My phone vibrated in my pocket, a notification. I pulled it out, shielding the screen from the rain. Bank balance, $24.15. A bitter laugh escaped me. $24. My husband had made sure to drain everything before kicking me out. He had been planning this. The lies, the distance, the sudden arguments, it all made sense now. I thought of calling someone, a friend, a coworker, anyone, but pride kept my fingers still. If I had learned anything from this marriage, it was that dependence was a trap, and I had been trapped for too long. A bus passed by, sending up a spray of water. I stepped back and stumbled slightly, my suitcase slipping from my grasp. It hit the pavement with a thud, popping open just enough for a few items to spill out: a sweater, a comb, a photograph of my father, and an old leather wallet. I froze, my father's wallet. I hadn't opened it since the day he died. I could still remember that day, how small and fragile he looked in the hospital bed, yet how warm his hand felt in mine when he whispered his final words. "You're stronger than you think." He was wrong, I thought bitterly. I didn't feel strong. I felt broken, lost, unwanted. Still, the wallet felt like a piece of him, a reminder that I once belonged somewhere. I crouched under an awning and opened it. The leather creaked, old, worn, familiar. Inside were the things he always carried: a faded receipt from a bakery he loved, a torn picture of me as a child, missing a corner, his library card, and tucked behind everything else, almost hidden, a bank card. I frowned. I had seen his cards when he was alive, but this one I didn't recognize. It wasn't the standard bank design. It was older, different, almost official-looking. A strange spark flickered in my chest. Hope, curiosity, desperation, maybe all three. I glanced around. Across the street, the glow of a small ATM booth cut through the darkness like a lifeline. My heart thudded. What if this card didn't work? What if the account was empty? What if I was being foolish? But what if it didn't? I took a breath and sprinted across the street, dodging puddles and ignoring the rain that soaked me even further. The ATM booth was warm, lit by a single flickering bulb. The door shut behind me with a soft hiss, sealing out the storm. I slid the card into the machine. The screen blinked. Processing, processing, processing. My heartbeat echoed in the small booth, louder with every passing second. Finally, the screen changed. Enter PIN. My breath caught. The card worked. But what was the PIN? I tried the one number that made sense, my father's birthday. The machine hesitated for a long, terrifying moment. And then, "Welcome, Mr. Rahim." A tear rolled down my cheek. He never told me about this card. Never mentioned the account. Never hinted at anything secret. I pressed balance inquiry. The machine hummed. The screen flickered. Lines of text appeared. The loading circle spun like it was preparing to reveal a truth too heavy to bear. Then the number appeared. I gasped. It wasn't a normal balance. Not a paycheck, not savings, not retirement money. It was a large number. Larger than anything my father, an honest schoolteacher, should ever have owned. I staggered back, covering my mouth. Before I could comprehend what I was seeing, the ATM beeped sharply. The screen flashed bright red. Alert, account flagged, security protocol triggered. Please remain at the machine. Bank authorities have been notified. My pulse skyrocketed. What was happening? What kind of account was this? Why was it flagged? What had my father kept hidden? I stepped back instinctively, and that's when I heard it. A noise behind me. The door of the ATM booth clicked. Someone was outside. Someone trying to come in. My breathing quickened. The rain had stopped. The world had gone silent. And I suddenly knew whatever was happening, whatever my father had been a part of, this was only the beginning. The door handle rattled. My breath froze in my chest as the shadow outside the glass shifted. The man, whoever he was, did not knock. He didn't speak. He simply tried the handle again, slowly, deliberately, as if testing how much force it would take to break in. I pressed myself against the far wall of the ATM booth, my heartbeat pounding against my ribs. The red warning on the screen continued to flash. Security protocol triggered. Remain at the machine. Remain? Was the machine insane? Every instinct told me to run, but outside, the man turned his head slightly, the dim streetlight catching the edge of his face. I didn't know him, yet something about the way he moved, calculated, patient, terrified me. The rain had stopped, leaving behind a cold silence that made every sound sharper. I could hear the hum of the lights, the soft drip of water from the awning, even my own shaky breaths. The man tried the handle a third time, this time harder. The glass vibrated. I flinched. What did he want? Was he from the bank? From the government? From somewhere worse? My father had been a simple schoolteacher, or at least that was what I believed. But nothing about this account, this card, this balance, was simple. Finally, the man stepped back. He didn't leave, he just waited, watching, like a predator waiting for prey to make the first mistake. My fingers trembled as I grabbed my suitcase. I wasn't strong, I wasn't brave. At that moment, I wasn't even sure I could stay upright, but I wasn't going to sit here and wait to be dragged out. I pushed open the ATM door, expecting resistance, expecting him to grab me, but he didn't move. He just stood there, hands in his coat pockets, eyes locked on mine. "Can I help you?" My voice cracked slightly. He tilted his head, studying me. "You used a restricted account," he said calmly, his tone so controlled it sent chills down my spine. "That card was not meant for you." I swallowed hard. It belonged to my father. "Exactly," he replied, taking one slow step closer. "And your father knew better than to use it." I stepped back instinctively. "Who are you?" "A concerned party." "That's not an answer." He gave a thin, humorless smile. "You're right. It isn't." He reached into his coat. I stiffened, bracing myself for what? A weapon? A badge? Instead, he pulled out a small black card and held it up. A symbol glinted under the streetlight. I didn't recognize the emblem, but it looked official, extremely official. "Return the card," he said, "and walk away." I looked down at my father's card still in my hand. Return it? Walk away? Walk away to what? To nothing? To an empty life my husband had just thrown me out of? "No," I said, surprising even myself. His expression didn't change, but the air seemed to thicken. "No?" he repeated. "I want answers," I said. "What was this account? Why was it flagged? What was my father involved in?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Your father was trying to protect you." "From what? From this?" His eyes darkened. "From the people who will come now that you've accessed the account." My mouth went dry. "The people like you?" He exhaled through his nose, almost irritated. "If I wanted to detain you, you'd already be in the back of a car. I'm the one trying to keep you alive." Alive. The word hit me like ice water. "What's in that account?" I whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he glanced down the street, tense, alert. "You need to leave. Now. Not until you tell me—" Suddenly, tires screeched in the distance. A black SUV turned the corner sharply, speeding toward us. The man's posture snapped rigid. "Too late," he muttered. His hand gripped my arm, not roughly but with urgent force. "We need to move. Let go of me." "I'm trying to save you," he hissed. "Do you want to die on the street like your father almost did?" I froze. "Almost?" He glanced at me again. "Your father never told you, did he?" The SUV came closer, fast, far too fast for a normal vehicle. Its headlights cut through the darkness like two blazing eyes. I could feel the vibration of the engine through the pavement. "Get down!" the man shouted. Before I could react, he pulled me behind a concrete barrier just as the SUV skidded to a stop in front of the ATM booth. The doors flew open and 3 men in dark uniforms jumped out, moving with military precision. One pointed at the booth. She was in there, trace confirmed. Another scanned the street, his gaze sharp and mechanical. Find her. The asset must not fall into civilian hands. Asset? They weren't talking about me. They were talking about the account. The card, the thing my father hid, the thing I had touched. My protector, if he was even that, leaned close. If they catch you, they won't arrest you. They'll erase you, I swallowed, trembling uncontrollably. What do they want? What is in that account? He grabbed my hand tightly. The truth your father died keeping secret. The agents spread out. The leader barked orders. They were searching the street, the alleys, the shadows. We have to go, the man whispered urgently. Now. I hesitated. Why should I trust you? I asked, voice shaking. He met my eyes with a strange mixture of regret and resolve. Because whether you trust me or not, I am the only one who knows why your father left you that card. Another agent shouted, "Movement! Southeast alley!" Flashlights swung in our direction. The man didn't wait. He pulled me to my feet and we ran, into the darkness, into the unknown, into a truth far more dangerous than I could have imagined. And as we disappeared into the night, one terrifying thought echoed in my mind. If this is what happens when the card is used, what exactly did my father leave behind? The night swallowed us as we ran through the narrow alley. The man's grip on my wrist was steady, not cruel, but firm enough to tell me he wasn't going to let me slip away. My lungs burned, my legs shook, but fear pushed me forward. Behind us, the shouts of the agents echoed through the streets, their boots slamming on wet pavement like thunder. We reached a dead-end brick wall. I spun toward him, panicking. "There's nowhere to go." He didn't respond. Instead, he pressed his palm against a section of the wall. Click. A faint beep, a mechanical shift. A hidden door slid open. My heart almost stopped. What is this?" He met my stare. "Your father trusted me. That's the only reason you're standing here." Before I could question him further, he pushed me inside and followed, sealing the door behind us. The sounds of pursuit were cut off instantly, replaced by a suffocating quiet. The room inside was small, metallic, and cold. No windows, one dim light overhead. A table, 2 chairs, a dusty computer in the corner. It looked like an interrogation room, or a safe house, or both. I backed away from him, clutching the card in my fist. "Start talking, right now." He removed his coat, revealing a holstered ID card clipped inside. Not police, not military. I recognized the symbol. It was the same one on the card he showed me outside. "What organization is that?" I asked. He lowered himself into one of the chairs. "Sit, you deserve the truth." "I'll stand." His jaw tightened. "Just like your father, stubborn." That hit me harder than expected. "My father was a schoolteacher," I said firmly. "A gentleman. He taught mathematics. He never broke a law in his life." A faint, sad smile touched his lips. "That was one part of him. The part he showed you. The part he wanted to protect. I don't believe you." "You will." I clenched my teeth. "Explain the account. Explain the money. Explain the men trying to kill me." The man leaned forward. "What do you know about your father's past?" "Everything. He lived a simple life." No, he cut in quietly. "He didn't." I froze. "Your father," he continued slowly, "was one of the highest-level encryption analysts our organization ever had. He designed financial vault systems, security protocols, even national-level data shields." My throat tightened. "My father? That doesn't make sense. He never used a computer at home." "Because he never brought work home." The man's eyes were steady, regretful. "If he did, you would have been in danger 20 years ago." I shook my head. "This is insane." "No, this is the truth. He left the agency after a classified operation went wrong. After that, he lived quietly. And the agency let him as long as he never accessed that account. So why did he keep the card? To protect you." I blinked. "Me? From what?" He took a breath. "That account holds more than money. It holds encrypted data, data that exposes internal corruption, illegal financial transfers, unauthorized weapons contracts, and a shadow network formed by rogue elements inside the agency." The room suddenly felt colder. "He wasn't running," the man added softly. "He was watching them." I felt dizzy. No, my father wasn't a spy." "He wasn't a spy," the man corrected. He was a guardian, my legs weakened. I leaned against the table to steady myself. This is too much, I whispered. I can't believe any of this. You used the card. That activated the failsafe. Failsafe? Your father programmed that account so that if anyone, including him, accessed it after his retirement, the system would assume he'd been compromised. It would trigger an alert. The rogue faction would come for the asset. He paused. That's what they call the data. My voice trembled. Then, my father knew this would happen? He hoped it never would, but yes. He prepared for it. A heavy silence settled between us. Then the man asked, "Why did you use the card?" I swallowed, shame creeping in. My husband threw me out. I had nothing. I was desperate. I thought maybe there was a small amount of money in it. He studied me. He knew you might need it one day. That's why he left it where you'd find it. I frowned. You said the account wasn't meant to be used. Yes. But your father still wanted to give you a choice. A way out, a final gift, though a dangerous one. I stared down at the old card, tracing its edges with my thumb. So now they're after me because of him. They're after what the account contains, he corrected. But yes, using it painted a target on your back. Can you remove it? He shook his head. Once activated, the protocol can't be undone. Not without the passkey. What passkey? The one your father took to his grave. My heart dropped. So I'm just stuck? Hunted? He sighed. Not if we reach the safe site. What safe site? A place your father built with me. A place where the data can be decrypted, revealed, or destroyed. I hesitated. Why would I want to destroy it? Because exposing it will bring down powerful people, dangerous people. People who will kill to stay hidden. Are you saying I have to choose between my life and the truth? Yes. I gripped the edge of the table. What would my father have wanted? The man looked away, almost as if he were searching for the answer himself. Your father believed in justice, he said finally. But he believed in you more. Another silence. Then he stood suddenly, alert. They're scanning for heat signatures. We don't have much time. He opened a panel in the wall, revealing a narrow tunnel descending into darkness. Where does that lead? I asked. To the answers your father left behind. I stared at the tunnel, my breath shaky. Then I stepped toward it. Because for the first time, I wasn't running from my past. I was running toward it. The tunnel felt like a throat made of stone, narrow, cold, pulsing with the echoes of our footsteps. Water dripped rhythmically somewhere far inside, creating the eerie illusion that the darkness itself was breathing. The man walked ahead of me, holding a compact flashlight that cut a small path of light. Behind us, the hidden door had already sealed shut, swallowing the last reminder of the world above. How long does this tunnel go? I asked, trying to mask the tremor in my voice. About a mile, he replied. It leads us to the vault your father constructed. My father built a vault underground? Yes, a digital vault and a physical one. We continued deeper, the air thick with old earth and secrecy. I gripped the card tightly, the card that had ruined everything, or maybe revealed everything. I wasn't sure anymore. After what felt like an eternity, the tunnel widened into a circular chamber. In the center stood a reinforced metal door, massive, futuristic, lined with old technology and new devices woven together like a patchwork of decades. A biometric scanner, a keypad, a retinal lens, a rotating vault wheel, and embedded into the metal plate, a small slot, exactly the size of the old card. This is it, the man said quietly. The vault. My throat tightened. And you brought me here because I'm the only one who can open it? He hesitated. No, I brought you here because your father wanted you to decide what happens next. He hesitated. No, I brought you here because your father wanted you to decide what happens next. I stared at the massive door. You said it requires a passkey. I don't have one. He stepped closer and pointed at the scanner near the slot. You do. The passkey isn't a code. It's you, my breath caught. What? Your father embedded an encrypted biometric signature into the card. But the final authentication is DNA-based. I felt my heart hammer against my ribs. So you're saying he designed this vault so only his daughter could open it? He trusted no one else. Not even me. The weight of that trust pressed down on me like a mountain. He gestured toward the slot. Insert the card. My hands trembled as I slid the card into the narrow opening. The machine whirred to life, lights flickering across the panel. Now place your palm on the scanner. I hesitated. Once I do this, What exactly happens? Whatever your father intended. He paused. And whatever choice you make? I took a deep breath and placed my hand flat on the glass surface. A beam of light scanned my palm. A low beep, another light flashed. Soft mechanical clunks echoed from deep within the vault door. Then a voice, soft, old, familiar. A recorded message, my father's voice. If you are hearing this, my daughter has found the vault. My throat closed instantly. The man stepped back, giving me space. The voice continued. I knew this day might come. I prayed it wouldn't. But if it has, then the shadows I tried to outrun have finally reached you. I clasped my shaking hands together. Inside this vault is everything I hid from the world. Evidence, data, and documents that can expose a network of corruption far deeper than anyone imagines. I felt cold. You, my child, must decide its fate. A moment of static. I loved you more than anything. I only ever wanted to keep you safe. But safety and truth rarely live in the same place. If you choose truth, you must be ready for the storm it brings. The recording ended. Silence swallowed us both. The vault door released its final lock with a heavy metallic sigh, then slowly began to open inward. Inside was a small chamber glowing with blue lights. Rows of servers' laptops sealed in transparent cases. Stacks of encrypted drives, printed documents bound by metal clips. Everything organized with clinical precision. The man stepped into the vault cautiously. Your father built this alone. It took him years. I followed him, unable to speak. He pointed toward a central pedestal with a single device. An old drive, protected behind glass. That, he said quietly, is the master archive. The complete evidence of the rogue network. I felt chills race down my spine. How many people are involved? I asked. Powerful people. Influential people, some of them. Publicly known and trusted. And if I expose them? I whispered. Governments will fall. Alliances will collapse. Billions in hidden transactions will be uncovered. The media will explode, and the people coming after you will lose everything. But they'll kill me, he nodded. Yes, I stared at the glowing servers, the quiet machines, the truth that could burn the world. What happens if I destroy it? The rogue faction stays hidden. Corruption continues, but you live. I closed my eyes. Two choices stood before me. Safety. Which option did my father want? I asked quietly. The man took a deep breath. Your father wanted you to choose the world you wanted to live in. I looked at him sharply. What do you mean? The vault contains 2 keys, he explained. One reveals everything, the other wipes it all permanently. Both keys were inside a small sealed drawer on the wall. 2 identical USB drives, one red, one black. The red one read, full release. The black one read, total erase. My heart pounded. You can walk away from all of this, he said. Live a quiet life. Let the shadows stay in the dark. I touched the red drive with trembling fingers. Or, he continued, you can end their empire. I touched the black drive. Both choices felt heavy. Both came with consequences. Neither felt truly right, and then the lights flickered. An alarm began to beep. The man cursed. They found us! I whipped around. How? They tracked the card's activation signal. We triggered the vault. They're right above us. Above us, the tunnel. The chamber, the city. All compromised. He grabbed my hand. Choose now, we don't have time. The alarm blared louder. Footsteps thundered through the distant tunnel. Voices shouted. Weapons clattered. I stared at the drives again. Red, black, truth, safety. My father's voice echoed in my mind. Truth and safety rarely live in the same place. I grabbed one of the drives, shoved it into the system. The man's eyes widened. You chose... A massive explosion shook the vault. Dust rained from the ceiling. The lights died. Darkness swallowed us. The explosion rattled the vault to its bones. Dust filled the air, and the blue glow of the servers sputtered like dying stars. I stumbled, the floor trembling beneath my feet, my heartbeat drowning out every other sound. The man grabbed my arm to steady me. Stay low. The shockwave hit the outer tunnel. This place might collapse. What about them? I shouted. He listened, eyes narrowed. Boots, dozens of them. Getting closer. They're inside the tunnel, he said grimly. We have minutes, maybe less. Sparks flickered from a damaged server panel. The air thickened with the smell of smoke and burned circuitry. Shadows danced against the walls, stretching like claws. My mind raced back to the moment right before the blast, my fingers gripping the USB drive, the click as I locked it into the system, the system initiating. He turned to me suddenly. You didn't tell me. Which drive did you choose? I swallowed hard. Red, his eyes widened. You chose full release? I nodded. The truth needs to come out. He exhaled, a sound mixed with disbelief and admiration. Then we have even less time. Why? Because once the system recognized the red drive, it began transmitting the data automatically. When the rogue unit realized what happened, they set off an internal charge to destroy the vault. So the explosion was them trying to stop the release. The servers hummed louder, the lights blinking in rapid succession as terabytes of stolen truth shot through hidden channels. Satellite links, dead drop networks, redundant relays only my father could have built. Transmission at 47%, the system voice announced, glitching through static. The man pointed at a panel behind me. Help me reinforce the door. We pushed a heavy metal cabinet toward the vault entrance. It scraped against the floor, screeching loudly. Another tremor shook the room. Why aren't they in yet? I asked. They're cutting through the tunnel collapse, he said. The explosion slowed them down. He wiped sweat from his brow, but not for long. The system voice crackled again. Transmission at 59%. I turned toward the blinking system core. Tell me exactly what happens when it hits 100%. Every server, every news agency, every leak site, every safe journalist around the world with a connection to our network will receive everything. Everything my father collected. Yes, every crime, every hidden transaction, every betrayal. He looked me dead in the eyes. They cannot silence this once it goes out. A strange warmth spread through my chest. Pride, fear, both intertwined. But before I could respond, the floor shook again. Harder, stones fell from the ceiling. A crack split down one wall. The vault wasn't going to survive this. The man grabbed my shoulders. We need to leave, now. But the transmission, he pointed at the servers. Your father built redundancy. The system will finish even if we aren't here. Transmission at 72%. Another explosion boomed from the tunnel, closer this time. My breath hitched. They're using grenades. Mini charges, he corrected. They're blasting through debris. He pulled me toward the back of the vault. There's an escape route, a maintenance shaft. You could have mentioned that earlier, I yelled. You didn't ask, he said, only half joking. We hurried to a small hatch behind one of the server racks. He kicked it open, revealing a narrow descent ladder. Go, he said. I shook my head. You first. For once, he said with a faint smile, don't be stubborn. A gunshot tore through the vault door. We both froze. Another shot. Metal jingled. A third shot ricocheted. They're here, he whispered. The vault door bent inward slightly. Go! He shouted, grabbing my wrist and forcing me toward the ladder. I climbed down, the metal cold under my hands. Above me, I heard him loading a weapon. I'll follow, he said. Move. I descended into darkness as more bullets hammered the vault. The moment I reached the bottom, he dropped through the hatch and slammed it shut. The ladder behind him collapsed as another explosion rocked the chamber above. We ran through the narrow escape tunnel, this one much smaller, barely enough for a person to crawl through. Dust clogged the air, every breath burned. We're close, he said, but just as he said it, the tunnel ahead of us split into two. Which way? I asked, panic rising. He hesitated. They changed the layout, he muttered. This wasn't here before. What do we do? He closed his eyes briefly, remembering. Left, we go left. We turned left and crawled faster. The ground sloped upward. The air grew cooler. Then, a faint light appeared at the end. He exhaled. We made a deafening roar cut him off, a blast from behind. The shockwave threw us forward, slamming us into the tunnel walls. Keep moving, he shouted. We crawled until our hands hit open space. Fresh air, night wind. Freedom. We scrambled out onto a rocky hillside overlooking the city's edge. Smoke rose from a manhole far below, where the other end of the tunnel must have been. But the nightmare wasn't over. Dark SUVs raced toward the hillside. There, he pointed. Run! We sprinted over the rocks, stumbling, breath ragged. Headlights blazed behind us. Engines roared, men shouted. My legs screamed in pain. Why are they still chasing us? I yelled. Because they don't know if the transmission finished. As if on cue, my father's voice echoed from the sky. Not literally, but through every buzzing phone, every car radio left on, every emergency broadcast channel. The world was receiving the data. We stopped running. Around us, the SUVs screeched to a halt. Armed men jumped out. The leader shouted, "Shut it down! Shut it down!" The man beside me whispered. "Listen." The city lights flickered. Screens everywhere lit up. News alerts ignited like wildfire. My father's files had reached everyone. Transmission complete, truth released. The shadows exposed. The leader lowered his gun. His face twisted with fury. "And surrender. It's over," he growled. The man beside me stepped forward. "No," he said, "it's just beginning." Sirens wailed in the distance. Police, military agencies responding to the data drop. The rogue faction scattered like insects exposed to daylight. I stood there, breathless, trembling. The man looked at me with something soft in his eyes. "You did what your father couldn't," he said quietly. "You finished his work." I stared at the glowing city, the truth racing across every screen. "No," I whispered. I started my own. The sun was only a thin line on the horizon when the world began to change. I stood on the hillside, wind brushing against my face, watching the city below flicker with the shock of truth. Sirens screamed through the streets. News helicopters circled overhead. Screens on buildings flashed with red banners. Global leak. Massive data dump exposes corruption across multiple agencies. Every secret my father had died for was out. Every crime they'd buried had finally surfaced. I breathed in slowly, the weight of years lifting off my chest. But the fight was far from over. The man, my only ally in this entire nightmare, touched the earpiece in his ear. "They're spreading fast," he said. "International networks have mirrored the files. Thousands of independent servers are copying the data. So they can't erase it?" He shook his head. "Not anymore." The SUVs that had chased us now sat abandoned, their drivers fleeing in every direction. The guilt of their faction, once hidden behind money and power, now burned under the world's spotlight. Still, I wasn't safe. We heard footsteps crunching behind us. But this time, it wasn't enemies. It was local police and investigative officers, drawn to the explosions underground, the broadcast, the reports flooding their systems. One officer lifted his hands in a non-threatening gesture. "We received intel about an unauthorized data transmission in this zone," he said. "Who initiated it?" I felt the man beside me tense. If we said the wrong thing, they might detain both of us, sealing away everything my father built. So I stepped forward. I did. The officer blinked. "And you are?" "My name is Arya Hale." The moment I said my father's last name, recognition lit his eyes. "Your father was—" "Yes," I said. He was the whistleblower they silenced. This data belonged to him. The officer exchanged glances with his team. Behind me, the man subtly shifted his stance, ready, waiting to protect me if things went wrong. Finally, the officer lowered his radio. "You need to come with us," he said. But not as a suspect, as a protected witness. Relief flooded through me. Protected, not hunted. For the first time in months, I felt like the world was standing on the right side of the truth. He nodded at the man beside me. "And him?" "He's my escort," I said. "My father trusted him. I trust him." The officer gave a slow nod. "Then he comes with you, under temporary immunity." The man exhaled sharply, surprised. The officers guided us down the hill, through a small clearing toward a convoy of vehicles. Behind us, emergency crews poured into the underground tunnels to investigate the explosions. But as we walked, I felt something tug at me inside. A quiet voice, a shadow of something unfinished. I turned back, staring toward the vault, the place where my father hid the truth, and where the truth tried to die. "What happens now?" I whispered. The man heard me. He stopped, looked at me for a long moment. "Now," he said, "the world decides what to do with the truth." "But you did your part." "Did I?" I asked softly. "Or did I just start a war?" He didn't sugarcoat it. Both. His honesty grounded me. It reminded me why I trusted him. We were placed into a secure transport. Officers lined the road, creating a safe corridor. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions we couldn't answer. Inside the vehicle, as the door shut, silence finally wrapped around us. He leaned his head back against the seat. "You know, your father planned for you to finish this," he said quietly. "He always believed you were stronger than you thought." A lump formed in my throat. "You knew him well?" "I worked with him before everything went wrong," he admitted. "He didn't trust many people, but he trusted me with his greatest secret." I swallowed. "The card?" He nodded. "And you?" A tear slipped down my cheek before I could stop it. "What happens to us now?" I asked. He looked out the window at the rising sun. "Now, we testify we survived the storm, and we see who tries to rewrite the truth." We drove for nearly an hour until we reached a federal safe house, hidden behind a quiet stretch of woods. They brought us inside, offering water, medical checks, clean clothes. But I couldn't relax, not yet. That night, I sat in a small observation room. The lights were dim, and the only sound was the hum of the security system. My mind was buzzing with everything that had happened. The man entered quietly, handing me a cup of warm tea. "You haven't slept," he said. "I can't," I whispered. Every time I close my eyes, I see that vault, those files, my father's face. He sat beside me. "Your father didn't die for nothing." I looked up at him, eyes burning. "Do you really believe that?" "Yes," he said. "Because of you." The warmth in his voice shook me. It was the first time in so long someone had said something that didn't hurt. We sat in silence for a while. Then the door burst open. A federal agent entered with a tablet in hand. "You need to see this," she said. My stomach tightened. "What now?" She played a news broadcast, breaking story. A second data vault had been discovered in another country. More evidence, tied to the files we released, was being unearthed. Governments were calling emergency sessions. Powerful figures were stepping down. Others were being issued arrest warrants. The truth wasn't just echoing. It was detonating across the world. I stared at the screen, heart thundering. "This is bigger than my father," I whispered. "Bigger than all of us." The agent nodded. "You lit the fuse. Now the world burns away the lies." The man beside me placed a steady hand on my shoulder. "And when it's over," he said gently, "you'll step into a world your father fought to create. A world shaped by truth. A world where I was no longer running. A world where I finally had a future." I took a deep breath. For the first time, I wasn't terrified of it. I was ready.